you're walking into this major multi-billion-dollar corporation, man.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting in probably a room just a little bit bigger than this, and you see people with their dreams on their laps, brother. They got their product in their lap. They're rehearsing what they want to say. You got other multi-million-dollar companies where they send like their reps to represent that product, trying to get into this grocery store. So I'm looking around, man, and I'm like, yo, what am I doing? You know, I'm here. Am I ready for this? So a lot of things start coming through your mind, you know?
What's going on, guys? So on today's show, we have Junior Cayetano with DeGiNo Coffee.
Let's go.
Man, it's an honor to have you here. You're an AZ up-and-comer, killing it in the West Valley.
Yeah.
I like it, bro. So Junior, you guys, from what my understanding, you guys started a company in 2019.
Yes, sir.
Man, that's amazing. I've tasted the coffee, bomb coffee.
Oh, man, thanks.
You guys are selling the coffee, like roasting it, selling it roasted, right?
So, a little bit about my background. My dad, I'm a third generation of coffee producers going back to my grandfather.
Oh, wow.
And so we own our own coffee plantation in Mexico, in Nayarit.
Oh, okay. Yep.
So we've been importing coffee for about a little bit over 20 years here in the Valley. Started roasting in Glendale, moved to Phoenix, and now my dad has a roasting facility in Avondale. So slowly but surely, like just growing in increments. So, it's been my life.
I like it.
Yes,
So going back to your childhood, obviously your dad and your grandfather, in the coffee business. What was it like, growing up? Well, bringing you to now, like how did young Junior look like? Your dad, was he a businessman back then?
Oh man, he's always been a hustler.
Okay, so how was that like? Growing up, watching that, your life story kind of type thing.
Man, I think it's so I'm the oldest out of my brothers. So there's three of us. And being the oldest, I think you're pushed a little harder. Dad, says, "Hey, go out there and get it."
Yeah.
And his background, Mexican, had nothing. So that hard-working Mexican mentality is like nothing's given to you. You got to go out there and work for it. So being the oldest, that was the thing to do. Go out there and get it.
So he put pressure. Watch your brothers.
Man, pressure was heavy, man.
Yeah. Did you have to work young, go help them and stuff like that?
Oh, so the thing is, man, I didn't even know. So the talk around my house was like, oh, I have a coffee plantation in Mexico. Growing up as a city boy, you can't comprehend what your dad's telling you until you get a little older, And his whole talks was like, one of these days I'm gonna bring my coffee over here to the U.S. I'm gonna bring my coffee here to the U.S. And I'm like 5, 6, 7. You're getting into your teens, and dad's over here hustling, starting his own business. His whole thing was like, I'm doing my business because one day I'm gonna bring my coffee from Mexico to the U.S. And when I was like 16, 17 years old, he takes off to Mexico and brings about 20 pounds of coffee, in a little small burlap bag. And he's like, man, I brought some coffee over from my plantation. Our first roaster was the barbecue grill in the backyard, and on a pot, and started roasting coffee in the backyard. So I think that's where the whole dream started coming alive in me, saying, hey, I think this is what I'm going to end up doing. So
you seen it, you're like, man, your dad's grinding.
Yes,
and
sir.
You're like, man, I like to smell that aroma.
Yeah. and then he's like, man, I got a whole field of this. So then you started getting older and you started knowing, okay, it's a plantation, it's not a few coffee trees here and there.
Yeah, that's some acres, bro.
And so when he brought those 20, 15 pounds, then he started giving them around the family. You see family and friends starting tasting the coffee, and they were like, oh man, it's pretty good. And you're talking about, okay, the feedback was positive. So the next year he ends up bringing about 50 pounds of coffee. So I'm like, okay, now he's getting serious about this. At the time I was ready to graduate high school. And he's over there roasting, and our first grinder was a grinder from Walmart, you know, just something.
Like a little
a little press. And our first coffee bags were like sandwich bags.
Yeah,
you know, and he was like, go to I lived on 43rd Avenue in McDowell. Back then it was a Smitty's, man, and then Smitty's turned into Fries.
I know where it's at.
So he's like, go slang it like if it was tamales, man. So I was selling coffee at like 18 years old.
So you had baggies of coffee instead of baggies of weed?
Yes, sir. You already know. Yeah. So I was slanging that. I was selling coffee at that age, man. From the trunk of my car.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So is that where you grew up, right there on 43rd and McDowell?
43rd. So I was raised a little bit in the South Side, like 9th Street and Broadway. And from there, I started my middle age. 43rd Avenue in McDowell was my.
Those are your stomping grounds.
Yes, sir.
So that's like Hollywood and Wedgwood.
Well, I was from
VHHB. There's all those over there.
So where I was at, the heart of it was I was on 39th Avenue in Monte Vista, which was Hollywood territory. Yeah, it was tough back then because, you know, the 90s was gang banging.
Oh, yeah. I grew up. Yeah, that's,
yes, sir.
Yeah.
There wasn't like these whole, these party crews. I think they were getting into a little bit more to my end of my senior year.
Yeah, mid-90s, the party crews started. Yeah, all the party crews. Yeah. Tagging came in, party crews came in.
Sir.
Yep.
Yeah, so that was my era.
Yeah, mine too.
Yeah.
Mine too, bro.
Where'd you go to high school?
Maryville, bro. But I went to 1 month. 1 month.
1 month?
I was kicked out, bro.
Oh, wow.
Done. I was done.
So you're that dude, huh?
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah. So we knew all the people in where you grew up at. But so like growing up right there, because we know the neighborhood, gang infested. There's a lot of gangs in that area.
Yeah.
All the West Side, Maryville area. When you were West, you were kind of, I was Maryville.
Yeah.
And so did you get in trouble? Like, were you like that kid that got in trouble? Were you kind of like I like that and this and that, but you stayed out of trouble because you had good parents? Or
you know what, man? I think you came up with a good question right there, man. So I think everything has to do with the upbringing of like having a mother and a father in the home.
Yeah.
My dad, he had a pretty rough childhood. I mean, he did his thing. His testimony was a pretty powerful testimony where kind of grew up in the streets, hustled. The background was pretty tough in that area. So, like I said, man, being the oldest and him having all boys, he tried to keep us away from, you know, the whole street mentality.
Yeah.
But it's hard to get away from it, man, when you're around it 24/7, you know, and you're part of it. So I did get into some trouble, man. But then again, you know, the advice of a father and, you know, the grace of God's hand, you know, on your life as well too, you know, kind of kept me away from things.
Did you guys grow up like in church? Was your parents in church when you were growing up and stuff like that? Or
I think I remember I started going to church when I was about 6, 7 years old.
Oh yeah. Okay.
I think that was the time where my dad he gave his life to Christ, and then we started going to church from there.
Yeah, I think that's a blessing. Some people today, like especially the young adults, is they don't appreciate like the fact that their parents are trying to do something good for them, taking them to church, showing them a good life. Like everyone's so spoiled today.
Yeah,
you know, they just
man,
you know, we got kids, you got kids, and they don't understand what it's like. Like, you know, you may not have gone through a bunch of trouble, but I know where you lived at. Right. You guys had 1,100 square foot house, 1,000 square foot house, 3-bedroom, probably. Maybe your parents had a small bathroom.
Yes, sir.
And then the other bathroom was small.
Yep.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I think you were privileged if you had a second bathroom, you know.
Yeah.
But you just hit it, man. 3-bedroom home. I mean, my living room and kitchen was about the size of the home we were brought up in, you know.
Bro, your living room and kitchen was smaller than this room right now.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
I grew up in the same house.
Yeah.
Same exact block house. Yeah. I think ours is John F. Long. It was similar style house.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I know a lot of people over there. So you seen all the gang activity, the troublemaking. You went to where did you go to? Carl Hayden
High School. Yes, sir.
What grade school did you go to?
Isaac
Junior High.
I went to so middle school was I went to Mitchell, which was around the 43rd Avenue area. Then you went to Isaac Middle School, which that felt like a high school, man. It didn't like you were going to a middle school.
Yeah, but there's dudes that flunked 3 times there.
Oh man, yeah,
They're
you're
straight
absolutely
beards.
right.
Yeah, they're like 17 in the 8th grade and stuff.
And they had a bunch of kids, man.
Yeah.
You had fathers already in middle school
And mothers.
Yes, sir. At that time, it was 7th and 8th grade.
Yep.
Now it's like you're going to school from kindergarten to 8th grade altogether.
Kind of, yeah.
Yes, sir. But Carl Hayden was a high school I went to.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah. So I went to a school. It was called Borman.
I know what you're
and
talking
then
about.
right by Maryvale.
Yeah.
But I was always in trouble, bro. Like I didn't have that good upbringing.
Yeah. You want to speed up life a little bit, huh?
Well, I almost ended it a couple of times.
Man.
You know what I mean? Well, not intentionally, but
Right.
so you get through. You're going to school. I'm trying to fathom this. Is because I had like about 2 friends that did good, like when we were younger, because our parents would just like, nope, you can't go with them today. Yeah. Nope, you ain't. You need to be home at 7. I don't want you past. And like, how was it growing up? You're around all this gang environment because they're at school, the troublemakers. They're your friends,
right?
But you're trying not to. You want to be cool, but you're trying not to get in trouble. How does that look like? Because I was the dumb kid that was like, let's just go get in trouble.
Yeah. I mean, I think you adapt to your environments. If you don't adapt, then you're pretty much you're stuck at home. You're not doing nothing. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So when you're there, you got to be smart about what you're gonna do. Like I said, my dad was a hustler. His advice, his things that he said, kind of rang when I was out there in the streets, and you're around different dudes that didn't have a father, didn't have a mother, was raised by a foster home or your grandma. They had a different mentality, and my dad would tell us about certain things like that, and I saw it from my cousins as well too. So I was the youngest out of like adult cousins, so I've always been around older people at a younger age, so that kind of helped me grow up a little bit faster as well too.
Yeah. That's good. They were able to school you.
Yeah, old school, man. School of hard knocks.
Yeah. So you graduated from Carl Hayden?
Carl Hayden, man, just barely by the how do you say, man? Just barely made it by, man. I went to night school. I went to morning school. So I started school at about 6:30 in the morning, and I ended up leaving school close to about 8:30 at night. Only because I only had about 6 credits going into my senior year. So I was that dude, like always ditched class, went to the gym, just found other activities to keep me busy. And at the end of the day, when you're trying to get that diploma and you're sitting in front of the counselor, it's like, hey, dude, you're not graduating. So
yeah, to put in the time.
Big time. Yeah, put in the work. Yes, sir.
Dude, that says a lot about you, because it tells me that you're not a quitter.
No, man. No,
you fought for that, and there's for everyone listening, you got to fight for what it is you want.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
You have to, and that's what that tells me is like you fought for it. You're like, I got to get this. And I'm sure you don't want to let your parents down.
So that's another thing. So I would have been the first in my mother's family to graduate high school, and I would have been the second in my father's family. And you're talking about cousins. I have more than a handful of cousins that just dropped out of high school,
They're never done.
So it was a big deal in my family, for me to just to walk down that aisle and get that diploma.
Yeah. So how did it look after? So you graduate from high school, your dad's getting into business, he's slinging coffee beans. And so after high school, what were you thinking, college, or were you like business, or were you just kind of not sure what you wanted to do? How'd that look?
So I did go to college. I went to Phoenix College.
Yep.
Community college right there up on in Cano on 15th Avenue. And I went in there because I got financial aid, and they were like, hey, man, you can probably do this college thing. And I was like, man, I'm going to go give it a try. The first week into college, I was like, nah, this is not for me, So what did it for me, I was taking a sociology class going into my second month, and he was talking about economics, and he was telling about how much he was making, and we got into a little discussion because he's like, yeah, man, you want to get your education and get your diploma because you can get yourself a good job, a good paying job. And I asked, I'm the dude that's always like, can I ask you a question, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So he's like, yeah. He's like, I told him, so how much money are you making? And he's like, I'm about, 2001. He was like, I'm at about $65,000 a year. And I was like, you're trying to tell me to get my college diploma to make $65,000 a year, and you're like 15 years into this game?
Yeah.
I got my books, brother. No kidding you. Grabbed my books, took them to the library, got my money that I paid for those books, and I walked out. That was the last time I walked into a college classroom.
Yeah, because it's hard to persuade you with some education when that dude's doing nothing. He's like a bum.
Yep.
Yeah.
And he was, he was smart about what he was saying, and he was trying to persuade people. Like I said, man, I think school is it's another gang it's a gang within a gang, man. So I walked out, and business was my thing.
Yeah. So you're like, I'm done. Here's your books back. Get my money.
Yep.
Professor's a retard.
So I walk in the house, and my mom, she's in there in the kitchen, and she's like, why are you here so early? I said, I dropped out of college. I ain't going back no more. And she's like, well, you better get a job because you ain't going to be here lounging around.
Yeah. So did you start working somewhere?
I did. I started working for Coca-Cola as a merchandiser. And
that's like the guys who stocked shelves?
Yeah, they stocked the shelf. And at this time, man, I was working at Coca-Cola, and my dad was like, feeding this whole coffee dream. And I was going into Coca-Cola, stocking the shelves, man, thinking like if it was my product on that shelf, So I told my dad, hey, let's do this coffee thing. And he's like, okay, well, let's do it. So at the time, my dad, for the past 3 years, he was importing like 10 pounds, 15, 20, 50 pounds, until he saved up enough mustard to say, hey, you know what? I think I got enough to bring in about the 30,000 pounds of coffee. And I was like, shoot, 30,000 pounds of coffee. Like, it's time to sell now.
Yeah.
So we did. He got himself a small little warehouse, about 1,000 square feet.
Nice.
And we bought a small roaster. So we came from doing a barbecue roaster in the backyard to having our first.
Is that like the drum style?
Yeah, drum style. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And he sent me on the airplane, man, and I was 18 years old. He's like, you're going to learn how to go roast coffee. So dudes picked me up at the airport and, started.
Where'd you go? Back to Nayarit?
No. I actually went to California.
Oh, to learn how to roast?
Yes, sir. A company out there, multi-million-dollar company. They do some pretty big things with some roasting, like roasters that they have. It's called Primo Roasting.
Okay.
And the vice president of that company picked me up and taught me how to do some roasting.
So and then you went back and taught your dad,
and went back, taught my brothers and my dad.
Yeah.
Yes,
so
sir.
your brothers are doing it too now?
They're doing it right now.
So they work with your dad though?
Yes, sir.
So you're roasting. You're 18. You fly out, learning how to be the master roaster. What is it called? A roaster?
Yeah, being a roaster, master roaster. Yes, sir.
And so you start working with your dad. And what are you guys doing? Just selling like bags of coffee to like coffee shops, to stores, to neighbors?
So we started. Actually, I was the one that was selling the bags because my brothers they were still in school. My little brother was in grade school. My middle brother he was just barely going to high school.
Okay.
So a lot of the selling was on my shoulders. And you're talking about 18, 19-year-old kid going out there and knocking on doors, and you're talking to men already that have been in business for about 20 or 30 years and talking into like corporations and things like that. So I had to learn fast, man. Every day was like, it was school for me out there, So I would come home, I would get 10 no's, but my dad I guess he was my encourager. He's like, hey, you're going to get the crazy guy who's going to tell you yes. So you got to keep going out there and doing it. So finally, man, I ended up getting one crazy guy that told me yes. And man,
do you remember that guy?
Oh yeah, man, definitely. He had a little coffee shop in downtown Phoenix, and they went out of business right now. But his name was Chris. I'm not gonna ever forget that guy. That was the first coffee that I sold to a company, but the first coffee bag I sold to an old lady. That she's like, I don't need your coffee, but I want to buy you a bag of coffee.
Yeah, trying to help you.
Yes, sir. So those things, I guess you never forget. You know what I'm saying? And now that I'm older, they kind of reflect back, and you try to help out other people as well too that are trying to start their own business.
Yeah. I do that all the time, man. People will sell me if I like them, right?
Yeah,
and I'll buy it.
Right.
I'll just be like, I don't need it, but here's
But I think you kind of know when they're genuinely like trying to start their business and they're believing in their product, and you're like, because it's easy to say no to somebody, but then you get that feeling like, oh man,
I need to help this person.
Sir. Yeah. So
and $20 would change their life.
Oh man, $20.
That's that, and not only that is it's a momentum shape.
Sir.
Like it shapes them and it changes the trajectory of what they're doing.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Because imagine like you're like, think about it, like you're going straight and then you hear no, and you start to detour like because you're sad.
Right.
You're pissed, you're angry, you don't know what the hell to do. No. And then one yes, boom.
Yep.
Put you back on track.
It does, man. And with me, man, I don't know if you did it, but maybe I'm the weird one. I would go home, bro. Man, I would go home, man, and I would be in the restroom, small little restroom, man, and I would look in the mirror and I would like rehearse what I'm going to say to people, you know? And it was like one of those things. So when I went out there, I was like already rehearsed. I was already practicing what to say, what not to say. We started going to this American church, and then you start picking up things how American people think instead of like growing up in the ghetto, man. You don't have no other thinking but hustling, like drugs, the music, the party,
of the environment,
the drinking. You know, exactly right. And I started going to this American church, and you start seeing.
What do you mean by American church? So, like a normal church?
Yeah, no.
Normal people? What do you mean by American?
So I grew up in a Spanish church.
Okay, yeah.
So in the Spanish church, it's not to knock it. I mean, great people in the Spanish church, man. But
there's only them.
It's only
the same type of person.
Exactly right. And usually everybody was doing the same job. Either they were a construction worker or. It was either cleaning houses, or if they did have a business,
Or they worked at a cook at a restaurant?
Yes, sir, man. It was like that. And they kept to themselves a little bit, And then I started going to an American church when I was in my early 20s. And that's when I started experiencing like, I guess the abundance of life, man, what God wants for you, and not just for you, but your whole generation,
Yeah.
So then your mindset starts changing in a different way. Like, you don't see yourself in that same position anymore. You see yourself in, okay, I think God has greater things for me than just this whole area that I'm at.
Yeah. What's crazy is, I've told this story before, is, where I grew up was, between Indian School and Thomas, like near Osborne and 47th Avenue.
Yeah.
And so I would tell the story is like, we would say, hey, I had a friend that his mom married like an engineer. And so they lived on Glendale and 59th Avenue, just north of Glendale. There was like these 5 houses that were on the west side. They were nice houses.
Right.
But Glendale's still Glendale, right?
Yeah.
But we would say, hey, we're going to the north side.
Right.
Dude, we were going from Indian School to Glendale.
Yeah.
Like 4 miles.
Yeah.
That was as far as we were going. And that was the north side.
But that made a difference, man.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
But what's crazy is that's how small the environment is when you're like growing up in a hood environment, or where it's the same type of person. Like people, you're just in that environment, and you don't know any better.
Right.
Like you said, is you were exposed when you went to the American church. We'll just call it to church. But I guess American church because you went to Spanish church.
Right.
What church was that?
So it was a church called Covenant International Church.
Oh, CIC.
Yes, sir.
Larry Surratt.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
I went there for about 4 months.
Yeah. So he was a good teacher, man. I mean, preached a lot about prosperity. Still kind of does, man. And just learning from that and seeing other people that he would bring into his church, other different preachers from not just around the United States, but from around the world. So you got to see like, their experiences, and you kind of said, hey, I kind of want to have my own experience as well too. So that's what fed the fuel. Did you go to the one where he was in the neighborhood? On the big building, or when he already moved? Yeah. I think he was on 54th Avenue, between right. Yes, sir.
Yeah, literally, dude. I'll tell you a story.
Yeah.
So, I got a divorce, right? And I was a single dad of 3 kids.
Right.
They were small, bro. And so I was praying, and like I got saved watching Joel Osteen on TV.
Yeah.
Long story. He knows the story. So, anyways, God moves me. God reunites me with my biological dad at the age of like 25.
Man.
Okay. Then he says, so I get my dad, my biological dad. I was giving up, bro, as a kid. But so I find my dad. He finds me, right? Then I move. So I start the divorce process. I move. God puts me in an apartment right next to CIC.
What? Okay.
Yeah, right. There was like some quadplexes.
Yes, sir.
Right on that one side street just south.
Yep.
And then so I'm right there. Then there was this guy that was used to sell drugs and do drugs, and he was a singer at the church. So I see him and I'm like, man, I want to go I want to go to church. He's like, Chris, come to our church.
Right.
And I'm like, well, what church is it? And he's like, CIC. I'm like, well, what is that? Where's that at?
Right.
And he's like, well, it's right here, right there. And it was like 1 minute away. And it was like God planted me right there for that time of my life.
Right.
Right there, right at that church.
Wow, man.
Yeah, because when I started going there, and then that led me, because I was going to church a couple of times and stuff. Then that opened the doors, and then like I met my wife and started going to her church.
Right, right.
You know, so had I not moved to the apartments, had not given myself to God, but had I not moved to the apartment, I would have never known TIC. And when I met her, I would have never even cared about listening about church.
Oh, man.
You know what I mean? It was like boom, 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 boom.
I think God, man, everything's predestined. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think walking in His will, it takes obedience.
It does.
So when you're walking in that obedience, man, I think He just orders our steps one way or another, man. And sometimes when we run away, because I've experienced like the running away from Christ, you know what I'm saying? Where you're like, okay, I'm doing this church thing, but the world is kind of getting to me, so I'm gonna see what this world's all about too. Mm-hmm. And you get into it, and at the end of the day, man, God has His plans for you. So it takes an obedient heart and a willing heart, you know, to surrender to Him. And from there, man, God has great things for all of our lives, not just our personal life.
Yeah, yeah. So you start going to American church, and you're like, man, these white dudes have got it going on.
Yeah, man. It's the first time I hear gospel, people running around church. You know what I'm saying? Like
all the biggest givers are sitting at the front row and stuff.
Yeah. And then people are dropping like money in the basket.
Like nothing?
Yes, sir. And people are pulling up in these nice cars.
Yeah.
But they were humble about it, man. Mm-hmm. I mean, you didn't see... Well, at least I didn't catch too many people where they were like, hey, don't talk to me. They were more like, they made me feel welcome, you know, where they're shaking your hand. And I was a kid that, man, I had the baggy pants and I had the long T-shirts, and I was all about that life. And because that's all I knew how to be. And I started changing my dressing, you know. I would start going with some button shirts, a tie, and a suit.
Sharp,
like, yeah, man. I'm like, I kind of want to look like this.
Best. Yeah.
Yes, sir. And then I started attending business classes there as well too. And they kind of teach you how to dress, how to be presentable, how to believe in yourself and what God has for you and things like that. So I started believing in all these things, and just seeing my dad, how he never gave up, because before the whole coffee thing, my dad, he was into and he still currently has his own, it's like a tire wheel business. So that business I seen him start from the ground up. So that's what helped build what he has now with the coffee plantation.
That brought the revenue.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And to this day, man, he's still doing it. But through that, he's ended up purchasing. So he started off with maybe 5 acres of his own, to now speeding up now, close to about 350 acres of land out there, because he started buying all the ranchers all around him.
Where's that, in Mexico?
In Nayarit,
That's cool.
Mexico.
Heck yeah.
Yes,
Heck
sir.
yeah.
And so just learning from him, man.
And so you're at the CIC, and then so how old are you at this time?
So I'm about in my early 20s at CIC.
Did you meet your wife yet?
No, not yet, man.
So how'd you speed us up to how you met your wife?
Let's speed up, man. I was just going through some things, man. I was like 26 years old.
Okay, we're 4 or 5 years later.
Yes, sir. And I had a buddy of mine. his dad was a pastor at a Spanish church, out of all churches, man. And at that time, I was trying to introduce him to other girls. You know what I mean?
Who, your buddy?
Yeah, my buddy that was going to church, and he was like, "Hey man, let's go out somewhere." And I was like, "Well, let's go. You know, let me introduce you to a few people." And I guess it never happened, bro. So long story short, I tell him, "You got any girls at your church?" And he's like, "Nah, bro, I can't."
So you guys are trying to hook up at each other's churches.
You know, young 20s, yeah, being real, you know.
I guess that's the place that, you know, better than the bar.
Hey man, hey, I don't know about that sometimes.
Yeah, it depends. Yeah.
But so I went to church on a Sunday and I saw my wife. She was like 2 pews up, and she turned back, and I was like, "Yo, who's that? Who's that girl right there?" And he's like, "Well, that's my wife's name's Tania." He's like, "Well, that's Tania." I was like, "Well, I want to get to meet her," you know. So long story short, man, it took about 2 months for me to get her number and start talking, and from there, you know, it is what it is now.
The rest is history.
Yeah. Yes,
so at 26, you meet her and stuff like that. Are you still roasting coffee with your dad?
Still roasting coffee, still doing my thing. At that time, you know, I'm in my early 20s. I have an account with Sprouts, so we're in all the Sprouts stores in Arizona. At that time, I was also doing AJ's Fine Foods. We're in AJ's Fine Foods.
Let me ask you, how do you guys get those? Like you know, to the people listening, because we're gonna get some coffee people listening,
right?
And you know, you want them to go after their dreams too. But like was it you grinding and knocking on those doors? Was your dad? Was it both you guys?
So the thing is like. My dad was like, "You got to go out there and do it," you know.
So he's roasting. He's like, "I got to run the tire shop and I got to roast."
Yeah.
It's you, boy.
So I was doing the roasting and I was doing the emailing as well too. So I'm not kidding you, man. I emailed Sprouts maybe about 100 times before they said, "Okay, we got a, you know, a scheduled time for you to come in." And you're walking into this major multi-billion-dollar corporation, man.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting in probably a room just a little bit bigger than this, and you see people with their dreams on their laps, brother. They got their product in their lap. They're rehearsing what they want to say. You got other multi-million-dollar companies where they send like their reps to represent that product, trying to get into this grocery store. So I'm looking around, man, and I'm like, "Yo, what am I doing? You know, I'm here. Am I ready for this?" So a lot of things start coming through your mind, you know. And the buyer comes out of the room and he's like, "Hey, Three Brothers Coffee at the time, you know," he's like, "Inocente, are you here?" And I was like, "I'm right here, man." And then first thing they look at you, man, they see how young you are, because in that room, man, you see people in like their late 30s, 40s, 50s, people with experience. This is what they live off of, you know, selling that product as a broker or as a sales rep or whatever they do to represent that company. So I'm in front of them, and you know, I think those businesses, they want the truth. They want to see what is different from your product that they see hundreds of times throughout the year. You know what I'm saying? So I just went in there, man, saying, "Hey, have you ever had a company come in here saying that their product is directly from their coffee plantation, and you're meeting the coffee plantation owners?" And they're like, "No, we're always seeing the representatives of that company, but never the coffee plantation owners." So I said, "Well, let's start the conversation from there."
Who's that? Is that you?
Yeah, that's me. Yeah, that's me doing some sampling, man, at Sprouts back in the day.
Nice.
Sir. 30 pounds lighter too.
30 pounds lighter.
No wrinkles. Dang, yeah.
No grays either.
No grays, man. Yes, sir.
There it is.
But and the buyer said, let's do it. Let's start you off with 10 grocery stores and see what you do from there. So 10 became 15, 15 became 30, and next thing you know, I was supplying every Sprout store here in Arizona.
Nice.
So then I guess that gave me a little bit more confidence, saying, okay, I'm in a multi-billion-dollar company. Let's go out there and get some more. And we started, then I got another account with this lady. She's the owner of the Ass Kicking product, which they're worldwide, man. Yeah. So I ended up doing a private label for her, which is called Ass Kicking Coffee.
Yep.
So that's our coffee inside her bag. So sending that coffee worldwide. And she's always been a great, not just a supporter, but a great mentor as well, too. A young dude at the time. When I got that account, my middle daughter, Gianna, she was born. So it was like, okay, things are coming together. You're being an adult. Things are happening, so.
I think I met her.
Yeah.
She's
Gianna?
with Dexy all the time, right?
Yeah. That's my middle one. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool, man. So that's like what, 14 years ago, 13 years ago, something like that? Yeah, because she's like the same age as my daughter, my youngest.
Yeah, so 14.
Daisy's 14.
Yes,
yeah,
sir.
They're the same
14.
age. So you're see, and that's what's so cool is like some people get so intimidated being around money or someone of influence, of power, of whatever that the case is, and they don't even put themselves out there. And you're like, hey, I got to go get it,
Right.
The fear sets in, like you said, and then but also, what do you think like? What helped you get past that level? Because now you're a Sprout, you're challenging yourself. Like, you think it was your faith in God, like and knowing like I can do it. If God put me here, I can do this.
Yeah.
It's designed that way.
I think that everything plays into it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think just your upbringing, the upbringing of a person. Like I said, my dad being there, mentoring me, giving me the good whoopings when I needed it. Just being around men of God as well too, that have these big businesses as well too, and just hearing their story as well. So you just want to be part of something. So I think that's what pushes you even harder, because it's not just about you; it's about setting a mark for other people to walk in.
Mm-hmm. I like that too, because wanting to be a part of something, and sometimes I'll talk to young adults, mostly men, because I don't talk to the girl. My wife does that, right?
Yeah.
But like and I feel like some of these youngsters, they don't want to be a part of something.
Right.
They want to be a part of their own thing.
Right.
And that's where they mess up. It's like, let's be a part of something first.
Yeah.
Because God's only going to give us what we can handle. If we can handle someone else's something, then He knows we're ready for our own thing. You know what I mean?
Yep, that's so true, man. And it plays into what I'm doing right now. And
that's what I mean.
I mean, I had to go through something to get where I'm at.
Yeah.
For it to be, solid, not just as a businessman, but you're trying to reach out. You're reaching to a community, and you're wanting this community to love your product. And so, what are you gonna do for that product to be loved? You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So, I think a lot of experience plays into that. It's like in your business, you're not just a person that just owns your business because I love what I do. I mean, a lot of experience came into it. You know what I'm saying? So when you're sitting down in front of a buyer, you can not just mathematically give them a better price, and not just necessarily a better price, but your product from inside, outside. Yep. Like they can say about somebody else, but then you can come back and tell them, yeah, but can they do this? Can they do that?
Yeah.
If they run into this block, you already know the ins and outs of that block, So
yeah, specialist. That's what separates you. You're a specialist.
Yep.
You're a sniper, bro. Sniper.
Yeah, knocking them down.
That's kind of the same thing with us, and I noticed that I'm in construction, and the more when I'll go to these meetings, and when they start talking about my world, I'm like, I got these dudes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I know the back of my hand.
Right.
And that's what separates me from the next guy. Just like you said, that's what separated you. And to everyone listening is become an expert in your field.
Exactly. Yep.
Because that's what's going to get you, that is what's going to get you to the table.
Right.
And that's what's going to get you that meal.
Oh, man. And if you want your meal to be big, man, you better get that experience. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and keep growing it.
Yes, sir.
Keep growing it.
All the time. And be aggressive. I mean, people talk about, you got to be humble. I think humble is a loose word. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I don't like
you got to be humble, but you got to be hungry at the same time. You know what I'm saying?
It's a borderline confidence, arrogance.
Right.
It's a borderline, and you got to be right at that. For me,
right,
and for you too, because we grew up in the hood.
Yeah.
And it's that borderline confidence, arrogance.
Right.
Because in the hood, you become real arrogant.
Yeah.
You do.
There's a cockiness too.
Everyone I knew was the same way. We were all like that. We're the best at everything. We're the shit. Excuse my language. Best in the West. Like everything. And then as we grow, we're like, okay, let's just take it back a little bit.
Right.
But you still need that confidence.
You do. Yes, sir.
Right? And I think as us, men of God, we start to know, okay, my confidence comes from God.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Like this whole time I thought it was me that was good at that.
Yeah.
And it is me that's good at it, but it's him who put me in the right place.
Go. Yes, sir.
Put that person at the right time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so the confidence are that borderline confidence, arrogance, the confidence in God, having the faith in God to say, okay, God, you got me here.
Right.
I'm gonna march those steps for you.
Man, and then you start reading his word, brother, and you start to put his word to the test. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I'm the head and not the tail.
Yeah.
You know, if he's for me, then who could be against me? You know, and if all things are if nothing's impossible for him, you know, then nothing should be impossible for me either. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I start building this spiritual mindset as well too, saying, all right, then I'm a kingdom man. You know, I belong to a king as well too.
Yeah.
And if I belong to him, then I belong in that area. And if I'm not in the area where I'm not supposed to be, then I don't belong there. You know what I'm saying? He's gonna place me, and he's gonna take me away from places where I'm not supposed to be. As well either.
Yeah. Well, and we pray, like those kind of things. We pray. My wife exposed me to a lot of things because when she met me, I was still I'm still ghetto a little bit. But she showed me like finer things. She took me to the next level of living, of believing, and but it's like you know, our faith and what we say, what we believe, you know, having that confidence in God, it separates us from the next person. I really believe so. And those things we do every day, you know, we were talking about when you were going to the meetings, and it reminded me like of what I do, and especially younger, as I was growing this business, and I would go into meetings, bro, and I would put praise and worship on.
Right on.
In the meeting, they just didn't know it. It would be on my phone. I'll put it on low, and like I'm driving, praying, because especially when I started going to the bigger people and stuff, you know. Yeah. And I'll just be like, all right, God, if you're for me, who'll be against me?
Let's go.
You know, I remember, you know, if you know David went before he conquered the Goliath, he beat the lion, the bear, you know, like, and God, I did this, I did that. And I know when I walk in that door, I'm going to have favor. I'm going to have your favor. And, you know, I would pray, dude. I would pray like, okay, God, I pray that everyone in that room, if they don't know you, Lord, that they see you in me, you know. And so it's like what you're saying is it rings to, like with me is because that's how we live too, you know. So I can, you know, I feel what you're saying. You know, so I like that. So you're growing the business with your dad.
Right.
And then how does it look when you start transitioning to like, hey, Dad, you know, how does that look?
So it was a rough transition, man, because I was there from the beginning, you know, like just being there. But at this time, my dad and my brothers and the whole family, they have some pretty nice accounts, you know, to run with, you know. Right now, you know, I think you had a few people here on the show where we supply coffee to as well.
Colado?
Yes, sir.
It's the competition, bro. It's the enemy. I'm just kidding.
Yes, sir. So, yeah, man, great family right there. So they carry our coffee beans as well, too. Fair Trade Cafe down in Phoenix. We've done private labels for the Alamo out in San Antonio Museum. So accounts were kind of set up. But before we even talk about the DeGiNo, man, I just want to give my wife, you know, her credit, because that's all her idea, man. That's her dream. That was her heart. She's the one that came up with the whole DeGiNo name. Nice. So, and at that time, I wasn't the big supporter of it because I had my own thing going on
with the coffee.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you're basically we make commission off.
commission, but I was a regular worker.
Yeah, it's just what you did. It's just what you did.
Whatever you work for is what you're gonna
It's your
get.
dad.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
got his back.
So my wife, she was like, yeah, well, I kind of want to do this whole coffee thing on the side, like for myself. And I was like, oh man, what are you talking about? I got a good thing going on right here. And she's like, no, well, I kind of want something for myself. She was a stay-at-home mother, taking care of 3 kids, and you know, she had her own goals and she had her own dreams as well too. And so I would see her in the backyard trying to brainstorm ideas. First was trying to come up with a name, and she came up with a few names that didn't fit. And then finally she was like, this is what it's going to be. This is what God told me it's going to be. And I'm like, what is it? And she's like, DeGiNo. And I'm like,
Dexia Gianna Noah.
yes, sir. The 2 letters of my kid's name.
I just put it together.
Yeah. And I was like, dude, what the heck? I'm like, that sounds Italian. I don't think it's going to catch. She's like, no, that's what God, he told me this is what it's going to be. And this is, I got to follow God's plan in this area. And I was like, well, okay, then whatever, you know, like do it. And our first gig, man, was we weren't even thinking of being a coffee shop. It was more of a mobile service for like for events, weddings, parties, and
Like pull up and serve them up,
and just exactly be like a bar at a wedding. And so we did our first wedding in, I think it was like 2019, with the whole DeGiNo setup. And like I said, man, it was all her idea. It was all her setup.
Is that it right there?
Yes, sir. That was the first one right there, man. Backyard.
So she came up with the logo.
The logo, she came up with the.
You guys put the stickers on the cups, or
Yes,
what?
sir.
So you get, like at night, you're putting all the stickers on.
Man, yeah. Doing the
Make
whole
sure they're
thing.
perfect. Take that off.
Hey,
Throw that
brother,
away.
But you know what? I didn't want to get into it, man, because I saw other coffee shops like go through it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I would be the guy.
Well, yeah, because you're selling.
Yeah,
them.
I'm selling.
You
this
see
to
it
them.
all. Yeah.
Exactly. I would see the headaches that they got to go through.
You
with
see
their
them start business, go out of business,
Yes,
all that,
sir.
everything.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I'm like, as a wholesaler, you're delivering the bulk to them, and it's up to them to move the product. You know, they need it. You're the supplier.
You're like, here, I'm done.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm done. Exactly. I don't have to deal with anything else. So, my whole mindset was like, okay, I'm the coffee dealer. I'm gonna go and I'm gonna deal them the coffee, and they got to move their own product, and then call me again, and let's do it all over again. You know.
Yeah.
But like I said, man, women, when they have an idea and God talks to them, you know, and it's from God, she was obedient, and there was nothing that I can do or say like to take her away from that, you know. So I ended up knocking, and I told my dad, hey, you know what, this is what's going on, and we're starting a coffee mobile. So my dad's more of the Hispanic traditional side, like what are you doing? Like, this is where
I'm building this. This is going to be your guys'
exactly right. So it was more of an ultimatum where like, hey, you either going to do this or you're going to do that, because you can't be 50. You either going to give 100% here or you're going to give 100% over there. And I did kind of see it in his view. It was harsh, you know, to kind of swallow.
He's right.
And that, like I said, man, that goes with the whole old school mentality. Like nothing's given to you. You're going to go out there and work for it.
Yeah, if you really want it, you got to go 100%. He's basically saying you got to go 100%.
Yep,
of this.
you got to go. And he's like, hey, man, well, I told him, well, I'm going to go support my wife's dreams and her goals, and I'm going to be there for her as well, too. So took a leap of faith, man.
And your brothers are like, deuces, this is ours.
Yeah, this is, just basically, that's what ended up happening, man. And
they're like, get out of here, bro. I'm taking your portion too.
Yeah, man. And at the time I was like, dude, we don't even have accounts yet, you know, not enough to feed a family and pay for
you gotta pay your bills.
For the bills that we had, you know, and savings was like you know, you're kind of depending on what you're doing every day that you don't even think about savings at the time, you know, because it's always there.
Hey, so you're like, you go to your dad, you have this first party.
Yeah.
Was it like right after this party or how long after were you like, hey, Dad?
I think it was 2 weeks after the party, man.
And then so immediately like he's like, hey, son, you're on your own, bro.
Yeah. He's like, you got if this is what you're gonna do, man, you got to go full force on it. And I was like, I was looking at my wife, man, and I was like, at the time I was like, yo, you're the provider, you know what I'm saying? Like, I worked so hard, to get to this point, and to start all over again, brother. It was like, it was humbling, man. It was like, how am I gonna do this? How are we gonna do this? But man, my wife, and it's not to boast about her or talk highly of her, man, but
no, go ahead.
dude,
I like it, bro. Boast.
Yeah, dude, she's a woman of God, man. She was like, don't worry. You do what you got to do. If you have to get a part-time job, I'll work on the DeGiNo thing. I'll set whatever we need to do. So at the time, man, I was working 2 jobs, brother, trying to start this business. I was cleaning the ballparks at the Chase ballpark as a temp worker, man. Second day being a temp worker, they moved me up to a supervisor, so I got a little bit more pay off of that. And from there, we would go clean elementary school. So I ended up doing a business as a cleaning service, and we got an account as a cleaning service. So cleaning the ballpark, doing the DeGiNo thing, and then going cleaning the school was like, it was a drag, man. And it was like starting from the bottom. And my wife was like, no, we're going to do it. We're going to do it. Next thing you know it, man, this whole pandemic started. And I'm like, yo,
2019,
yeah, 2019 hit like towards the end, and going into 2020, I was like, yo, like, what am I gonna do? Like, what are we doing here? So my heart was like, I'm gonna go ask my dad, like, hey, bring me back in. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is rough. But the other side of me was like, nah, you made that jump. Like, you can't. There's no turning back. You're gonna have to figure out a way how to get this thing done.
Yeah.
And at the time, man, my kids, they're not little no more. You're talking about Dexy, Desiree, my oldest. She was going into high school. Gianna was like a middle grader.
Because this is 4 years ago, 3 years ago.
Yeah. It's like, it wasn't too long ago. And kids are getting older. As kids get older, man, it gets a little bit more expensive. They eat a little bit more.
Well, the grocery, they need the makeup, all that stuff.
Yeah, man, all that good stuff. So we were going through that, and my wife's like, you know what? There's no events. Everybody closed. No one's gathering. Let's do a delivery service. I'm like, delivery service? Just like, we'll just start knocking on offices. Offices are open. Nurses are open. Like, let's do that. I'm like, dude, let's do it, man. She made a whole menu up, and I'm like, I already know how to go knock on doors. Like,
you did it. Yeah.
So I was like, all right. She created the menu. I was like, let's go. And she's like, I want to go with you. So she was my ride or die, man. She was going with me, knocking on doors, and I was selling the coffee, man. And
So were you like selling like cups of coffee, right?
Drinks. I was selling, like cold brew drinks.
Hold on, were you like making the pumps in your car or something?
Man, so if
you're like
if these accounts, these offices weren't like too far from my house, I would do them at my house, right? Mm-hmm. But let's say we got accounts from like going all the way to Central Phoenix, or even as far as the South Phoenix, we were getting orders. I was taking the product and we were doing it from the trunk of our car, man. Mm-hmm. Like, it was bringing me back like how I used to sell coffee, but now I'm selling drinks from the trunk of my car. We will park like 2 blocks away so these businesses wouldn't see where we're at mixing up these drinks.
Hey, there's a flat tire and some coffee.
So there it is, man. I mean, we were trying to be professional about it as well too. So she had a spirit of excellence, man, from the beginning. Like, this is how we're gonna do it.
You can see it in the package. Yeah. I seen it in the hoodie. Whoever designed the hoodie.
Oh man, that's my wife. She got a whole design, like a designer to do all that. She gave the vision of what she wanted it. The designer came back. She would be like, no, that's not what I want. So very aggressive as well too. So so kudos to her, man. Like, everything that we're doing with DeGiNo, it's either a yes or it's a no. I don't want it that way type of mentality. So yeah, man, that's a delivery service right there. We did that for a good, I think, about 6 months. We saved. That's where I learned what it is to save up, man. Because
to like not overspend and like, okay, we gotta.
Yeah, because this is the only income we're coming in. But those delivery services, man, we're bringing in a day, 350, $400. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it was good. Next thing you know it, she's like, you know what? Let's do a coffee trailer. We're driving around where all these restaurants are closed, but drive-throughs open. And she's like, I see these coffee trailers, man. I mean, these food trailers, they're open. And she's like, let's finance a trailer. So we go to these different places, man. They were going for like $70,000-$80,000 financed. And I was like, nah, I don't think we can afford a payment on that and a down payment. So I ended up going to this trailer place, man, out in Phoenix on 35th, actually close to where I grew up at. And I went and they were closed. My wife's like, let's come back the next day. I'm like, well, let's do it, man. So we end up going and we're looking at these trailers, you know, beautiful trailers, man. She's like, man, I see myself in this one, this, and that. And this guy, he's building a trailer and he's like, hey, you like the trailer? I'm like, yeah, man, I like it. Mexican guy. And I was like, man, I love it, man. I wish I had one. And he's like, take my number down. And he's like,
like a side job?
Yeah, like a side job, man. I was like, okay, like, you know what? Here's my number, man, because I don't want to get you into trouble. So call me whenever you get out from work. So my wife's like, you didn't get his number? I was like, nah, if he wants a job, he's going to call me, you know, if it's legit. And ends up calling me at 5, right when he gets out from work. He's like, hey, man, where you guys at? I want to take you to my house. I'm working on a trailer right now, and I want you to look at it. And if you like it, then we'll talk from there. We went to his house, man, and we're walking in his driveway, and he has his trailer in the back, and his wife comes out. And next thing you know it, my wife looks at the lady, and she's like, I know you. And I'm like, what's going on here? You know, the guy was like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
So my mother-in-law and this couple, they go to the same church.
Oh, nice.
So it's like just how God was placing everything together, man. I mean, all these people here in Arizona, we end up meeting the people that build the trailer that end up going to the same church as my mother-in-law and my father-in-law.
Yeah.
So that's what started the whole trailer conversation.
Was
going,
that like
man.
was that the trailer?
That was the trailer, man. So he told me, find the trailer on OfferUp, buy it, and we'll buy the material and we'll build it up from scratch.
So they built the whole box out and everything.
So our first trailer was a whole build out, man.
You have the finished product? That's it.
There's the first trailer right there, man.
That's the first one?
Yep. And then we ended up building the second one after we launched that one out.
I heard there was a story with like a door got broken off or something.
Oh, yeah. I don't know, man. So we hired this dude to haul these trailers, and he left the door open and kind of
snapped it off.
Kind of ripped it off. Yeah. We'll leave that name undisclosed, man. Yeah. Yeah. Pretty funny.
So do you have that trailer, or did you get rid of that one?
That one's it's rented out.
So is that your wife?
Yeah, that's my wife Tania right there. Yes, sir.
You show the picture, Antonio. That's still the first trailer.
That's the first trailer.
That's Christmas, bro. We're back at Christmas. Look at that tree.
Yeah, man. That was at the end of 2020, boss.
It's a boom, right into business.
Right into business, man. Everybody was so surprised. But at the same time, they weren't surprised because they were
Dexy looks like her mom, bro.
Yeah, man. Totally 100%.
Yeah. I never seen her.
But Gianna's starting to look like her mom, too.
Oh, really?
So, yeah.
Well, when I seen you, I seen her.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the eyes and stuff.
Yeah.
That's cool, man. Heck yeah. I haven't seen Noah, so I don't know.
Oh, man. You don't have a picture of Noah?
Antonio said he's huge.
Oh, man. He's 10 years. He's just turned 11, man. He's about 5'8".
Tall boy.
Big boy, man.
That's cool.
Yeah,
Heck yeah. It's good, healthy.
Yeah, strong.
Yeah,
sir.
Yeah. So you guys do the trailer. Dude, that's got to be hard because COVID sucked.
Yeah, man.
Like it sucked for everybody. It was like, I mean, some people got really wealthy, but most of everybody, it sucked.
Right.
And so you're over here kicking off a business, and I mean, you're getting your teeth kicked in doing it. You know,
right.
Like it's hard. Like, what was going through your mind as you're going through it, and you know you're transitioning from, you know, first your dad's like, get out of here, you lost your inheritance.
Right. Yeah.
Your brothers are like, deuces, thanks, bro.
Yeah.
And then, your wife's like, hey, I got this idea. And then you guys start, you're doing some events, and then boom, everything's shut down. I'm sure your heart dropped. Like, what's going through your mind through this process, especially like from the event shutting down to doing the trailer, because the trailer's probably like the catalyst, right? But in between that time, like, dude, like did you feel like the world's ending and stuff? Like how'd you feel? Like,
man, I just felt like separations everywhere,
Yeah.
Separation with my family, with my brothers, my separation with my parents, a separation from like family and friends that, you had a life around with, and then you have this business where, when you're starting a business, now you're starting to meet a lot of new people.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? People that you never thought were going to be a part of your life. That to this day they've made an impact in our life as well too.
Yeah.
So it's just crazy how just not giving up, man. Waking up every day with a purpose.
Yep.
Lets you know how good God is, man. Because at the end of the day, He puts people in your path that you never thought that they were going to be part of. And I look at it now, I'm like, man, speed up, like maybe 5 years from now, God willing, gives me the health and we all see it. So another 5 years, like, who else can we meet, or where else is this going to go? If we just keep working hard and being diligent at what we do. Yeah.
My father-in-law always says is people will be in your life for a reason, a season, and a lifetime.
That's good, man.
Yeah. So, we always, we want, and in our hearts, we want people to be in our life, forever.
Right.
But some, it's just a season, man. It's like, and so that's what you're seeing, and the lifers, that doesn't mean they're around you every day.
Right. Right.
You can love them from a distance. Was it when you were starting out, cause like, again, you're overcoming, you're getting whooped, but your wife's full of faith, and you're like, I just got to keep doing it. Like, I got kids to take care of. You're like in survival mode pretty much, right?
Yeah, man. There's like a, that alpha mentality, you know what I'm saying? Where like, you got to do it, man. And at the same time, while you're doing it, your mind is still telling you, God's still telling you, hey, you know what? You got to forgive. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because I think for you to be successful, man, you got to heal from a lot of things. You know what I'm saying? Because if you do things in a bitter way, like, who are you going to give that to, or what type of example are you trying to set? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I started knocking on the door. I started telling my dad, hey, you know what? I started asking for forgiveness as a son. If there's any way where I offended him in any way, or offended my brothers in any way, that wasn't my intention to do it that way. But let's come together. We're a family at the end of the day, and I need your coffee, man, because I know it's good coffee.
It's the best coffee.
Let's go. Let's put it out there, man. And there's nobody else better that can sell it like I can sell it. So started getting the coffee from my dad, and started.
So you weren't, for a period, you weren't getting it?
You know what, man? For a while, I wasn't.
Were you selling Folgers?
I wasn't.
I'm just kidding.
No, I was actually like, I think that's my hobby, bro. I'm like a coffee connoisseur, so I like to try different coffees from different regions.
Yeah.
So I can distinguish like the acidities from the coffee. I can distinguish the balances from it. How long has it been sitting there before it was roasted? So I love that, man. I think I have a palate for that. So not to boast, man, but my dad at his coffee plantation, the way they do everything is all old school method. Like, everything is sun dried. It's organic, no chemicals, no pesticides, shade grown. The elevation, you have no irrigation up there, so you're depending on nature, rain, the mist of the clouds. So you're getting all these unique things that are going with it. So I'm over here slanging. I'm telling people the story, where it's coming from, how it's being processed, and I'm getting all these folks that I never thought I was gonna meet that were like, yo, like, we need it. Next thing you know it, man, we have this trailer parked in Verado, and we started getting a drive-through going on. we would have like 15 or 20 cars lining up.
Just line up to get coffee.
Just to get coffee. And that's what started the whole name. The whole name started getting, out there in the Buckeye area.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, man, I have the whole community of like Verado, which is in Buckeye, and started going to a Starbucks in front. My wife was bold. She's like, we're going to park in front of a Starbucks. I'm like, yo, Starbucks has a big line. She's like, well, they need to go somewhere else in that big line.
Some people don't want to wait.
They don't want to wait that 40 minutes. Unfortunately, people do wait 40 minutes for some bad coffee.
I don't know why. I don't know why.
Yeah. So yeah, man. We started.
This guy always at Starbucks.
He's at man.
You know what? We'll talk about him later. Though.
Yeah, man.
They're wasting his money over there.
We'll tell him a story about Starbucks later. Yeah. But yeah, so people started loving the story. They started loving the name. Next thing you know, man, my wife, we get to meet this pretty cool couple, man, out in Buckeye called Sophia and JR. They're the owners of they're called Screws and Sparkles, so they got a unique thing going on over there. She came to my wife saying, hey, I like to put a coffee shop inside my store out in Old Town Buckeye. So that was another area where we started doing business at in Old Town Buckeye. And an opportunity came up as well, too, where Verado had this patch of land, man, that hadn't been touched for like 30 years. And you're talking about the whole community was already built, but this small piece of land for like 30 years hadn't been touched. Next thing you know it, man, we become friends with like the mayor of Buckeye. And he's telling me, hey, man, let's have a meeting. And he told me a little bit about this piece of land that was going to go up for like retail. And there was going to be a unique thing with that thing that was going to happen, which it was going to be a local hub. Like it's going to be just local businesses inside this plaza area. And he's like, I like you to be in there. So he gave me the contact number to contact. And next thing you know it, we have a spot that's being constructed right now in Verado. Yes, sir.
So what is it, like part of a plaza? That's your family?
Yeah, it's part of a plaza. Yes, sir. That's the coffee shop that we have right now over there in Old Town Buckeye.
That's what that's like a boutique type thing, huh?
Yeah, it's almost it's I would say it's a boutique kind of store. Yes, sir. And
so basically, and then so you're going to be moving from where you at right now? What's the location?
For
where you're currently at.
So we'll still be there.
So you're going to get a second permanent location.
Yeah. And then we still have our coffee truck as well too. We're still working that as we speak.
So that's a truck that drives like kind of like a food truck type.
Yes, sir. Yep.
And did you guys built that out as well?
No, we ended up instead of hauling a trailer, we ended up getting a mobile trailer as just for the convenience. What
do you mean a mobile trailer?
So we got I don't think he has a picture.
You don't have a picture of that?
No, man. But I ended up buying a bus, man. And it's a coffee, like a coffee bar in a bus.
That's good, man. You know what? I'm glad you guys are like killing it in the game. It sounds like coffee's your life, bro.
Man, coffee is my life, man.
I thought you were gonna bring one for sure.
You know what? That calls for a second visit over here, man.
I know.
We'll set up the whole thing here.
With your wife, bro.
Yeah.
I had this whole thing planned.
Yep.
I was going to pin you guys against each other. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, no, man.
But it's good to hear from perspectives of because my wife and myself work together.
Right.
And it's a whole different dynamic.
It is.
Because you are going to argue, but you are going to make up and you're doing it together.
Right.
A lot of couples can't work together.
Nah, they can't, man. I see that a lot too, but I think it's just knowing when to pull away, as a guy.
Yeah.
And
it's hard though.
And being there when it's not going as well, learning how to say, hey, you know what, it's okay. It's gonna be all right. We'll figure it out, type of deal. So because my wife, she's an alpha too, man. She's a go getter.
Mm-hmm. That's how mine is.
Yep.
The same thing. And sometimes we'll butt heads just because we both want the best.
Yep.
And one don't want to give in. But you need that because like when you're down, she's up.
Yep.
You don't have like another one down just because they're down all the time.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because some people are like that. It's like there's always going to be and I'm sure it's the same with like with my wife and myself is, like I can be down and out and she's like, let's go. Yeah. She's dragging me. And then when she's down and out, I'm like, let's go. And we're pushing each other. and we drive each other. You know, there's almost a level of competition, a healthy competition, because like she expects something from me and I expect something from her.
Yeah. And usually when that healthy that competition, man, it's kind of like one of those things where it's challenging, man. Like she challenges my manhood sometimes. Like, I don't think you can do this.
Dude, you go through that too?
Yeah, dude. I'm like, yeah, man. Do you go through it?
Yes.
Jeez, man.
Are you kidding?
And I'm like, girl, you don't know who you're married to, girl. Let's go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But she does it for a reason.
Oh, she's checking you.
Yep.
She's keeping you. She's keeping you in line before you screw yourself up.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Hey, Maya will go like, she'll be like, all right, pride come before a fall. And then she's like, you know, I'm going to pray something bad happen to you and you get a bad contract, you lose money, watch, you'll see. And I'm like, why are you going to do that to us?
Yeah.
You know? And then she's just laughing like, okay, you want to mess around.
Yeah.
Keep messing around. But man, it's so cool. So like, you know, starting a business, you know, you have all these youngsters or even older people that want to start businesses, you know, what do you say to them, you know, like, what do you have to say to them when, especially, you know, if they're in a coffee world or any world, you know, what's that nugget you want to leave them in to that way it kind of sets them on that path?
I think, man, I see it right now from my younger daughter, my oldest daughter, Dexy. She's 19, brother. Mm-hmm. She just opened up her own clothing boutique. Yeah. And just seeing her heart, man, like that's what she really wants to do. You know what I'm saying? And I see that it's a healthy decision. It's a healthy business. You know what I'm saying? Because there's other businesses you don't want to give someone too much of a positive input when it's like, one, you're gonna destroy the community. Second, you're gonna destroy your life. So you got to know when and how to give a positive nugget, man. And I put her as an example all the time because she's a hardworking girl, graduated high school, going to college at the same time, just doing her thing and just encouraging her, saying, hey, man, this is what you want to do. Having people that are going to support your dream, you know what I'm saying, that are going to believe in you. Grab yourself and put yourself around people like that. Because there's a lot of people that, and it's an old saying, man, don't tell people, your closest people, your dreams, because they're the first ones that are gonna
crush it.
Yeah, they're gonna crush it, or they're not gonna support it. You know what I'm saying? Or they're gonna tell you that you're crazy. Don't do that. I would say, man, get yourself around people that are go-getters, that are gonna believe in you and take a hold of that, because nothing's easy. You're always gonna come up with some barriers. That's just life, you know. But you got to know who you are. And at the same time, if you don't know who you are, find some mentorship, read some books, get around people like yourself that can give you some positive input. You know what I'm saying? Because not everything is roses out in the world. You're going to find some hustlers. You're going to find some greedy people, some sharks. You're going to find some good people that ain't never had that type of life. So educate yourself in all aspects of life, you know, and trust in God, and He'll order your steps, and He'll take you where you need to go.
Yeah. So there it is, guys. Know who you are, educate yourself, and trust in God. Junior,
let's go.
Thank you, bro.
Hey, it was a pleasure, man. Thank you.
Be blessed, guys.
Always.